What's up, y'all? We are back again with another episode of the Young and Dumb Show. We have a lot of heavy hitters coming on, and today we have another heavy hitter. And I know I said it last week, but it's okay because this week we have another heavy hitter. And I like this episode because we're actually going to be branching into a different field of entrepreneurship, because we've been talking about a lot of real estate, a lot of aesthetics, a lot of entrepreneurship that we see a lot. But we have somebody who's behind the scenes that does a lot of work for other entrepreneurs and other creators and other people who are going into the career fields and stuff like that. So I have Mr. Bilal on the show, and introduce yourself.
Yes, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be on the show. Thanks for having me. Again, my name is Bilal Issifou. I am a tech entrepreneur, the CEO and founder of Unchained Inc, which is a future of work technology startup that helps diverse candidates get connected to different career opportunities while helping companies improve their efforts towards DEI. In addition to that, I do a lot of work outside of the tech space and the HBCU space through HBCU Tour. We travel to different HBCU campuses and provide resources that they may not have. And we also host events such as the HBCU Experience and Met Gala, which is a huge celebration for HBCU students and the HBCU community in general. Being an HBCU alum myself, I find a lot of passion doing meaningful work in this HBCU space, because I feel like we are the future. The younger you are, the more space for creativity you have, and the more reach you'll have in your current community. So that's a little bit about me and what I do.
That wasn't a little bit. That wasn't a little bit.
I get used to talking, so it felt like a little bit, but.
But we're gonna break all this down. But first, when people come on the show, I definitely like to tell people, how we met. You know what I'm saying? Because we met by us both being in the right rooms, and you created that room. You know what I'm saying? So I was at the HBCU Experience in Atlanta, which you funded, you put together, you threw, and it was a wonderful experience. I got to see Master P. We did what was it called? A pitch competition, right? So my friend and I, we won the pitch competition, and it was crazy. That was super on the spot. We didn't plan for that, none of that, and we was we both have
plan.
Yeah, word. And we both have different businesses, but we let's put this together, because although we have different businesses, we come out of pocket together to do things, right? So we we can do this together, and our businesses together become stronger, right? So that was just super, super dope. And I appreciate you for creating that experience. And just highlighting HBCU students, because I'm gonna let you talk about it and get into it, but the HBCU Met Gala, that was a super, super dope experience, and it was lit, and I gotta give you your flowers for that one. I appreciate you, especially, and your crew as well too.
No, I appreciate it. And just to to start speaking to the story, picking back on what you said about how you and your partner got to participate in the pitch competition, and you guys thought it was a smart idea to collab your business ideas, and you guys ended up winning. And so with that same concept in mind, me and my business partner, his name is Nasir Jones, we both created two separate HBCU platforms while we were in college. As I mentioned before, I created Unchained Inc, and he's my chief technology officer for Unchained, but he also separately created HBCU Tour, which is a resource network for different HBCU students. Since the beginning, we kind of in creating those platforms, we always kind of married the two, because it made sense, because we would always, increase our reach. Like, a lot of people start businesses, and, their friends start businesses, and, they become in competition, but essentially you're always stronger together, strength in numbers. And that's because, for example, I could, hit a certain amount of people, and he can hit a certain amount of people, but us together, we hitting everybody. And so that's kind of how we even formed the idea of the Met Gala. It's all right, I have a platform that connects students to career opportunities and internships. You have a platform that connects them to scholarships, resources about their school, and then a marketplace. How do we combine the two and give them an experience? And that's what kind of birthed the HBCU Experience. It's like the HBCU Experience is, coming to campus, navigating, doing different opportunities, going to different events, but also being on top of your books, also looking for internship opportunities. So how do we bring the two together? And that's essentially how the HBCU Experience was brought together. And we wanted to make it a 2-day thing where it's like the first day is dedicated on that first part, on that leadership, on that networking, on the skills that, will make you dangerous as an HBCU student. Because as HBCU students, we are already different, from a lot of different people, just in terms of, the school, the type of school we're going to, the backgrounds that we come from, and kind of our perspectives. But there's skills that are universal. Like, what I'm saying? Networking is a skill. No matter if you're Black, brown, white, Asian, no matter. You got to know how to network. You got to know how to sell yourself. You got to know how to put yourself out there, because, there's certain things that, yes, we have that are different, that separates us, but there's other things that, are needed for our success. And so we wanted to be able to equip students with those tools, while also on the second day showing them why we're different with the HBCU Met Gala, like showing them, yes, we create the culture, we create the fashion, we create the music. It don't matter. Like this is what we do naturally, but we're showing the world that we can do both. And for a long time, I feel like a lot of people may have thought of putting together an event like the HBCU Met Gala, but, didn't really put the resources together to actually get it done, or to do it on our scale. Like our biggest, I guess, advantage was that we started this as an idea, but we never stopped talking about it and never started working towards it. And by like 6-7 months in, we like, dang, December in 2 months, we got this event that we about to do for the first time at this scale. So like, we didn't know what to expect, but we had a vision for the idea. We knew that we had strength in numbers as a team, and we knew that, the purpose of the idea was great enough that, at the end of the day, things were going to work out. So like we had, a couple roadblocks down the road, because like this was the first year that we did it. So we didn't get on getting sponsorships early. So a lot of the things, a lot of the events, the venue, like it was pretty much out of pocket from the team. And although, that, is always something, nobody likes to spend money, of course, but for the event and for the vision we were trying to put, it was worth the investment. And so sometimes you got to be willing to invest in something that has uncertainty, because it was the first time we were doing it. It was, something that we just pretty much brought out of nowhere, and we were going to make a thing. But after doing it the first time, though, like now it's a thing. And that's the beauty in actually going through what you say. So.
Yeah, that was deep. You said a lot of gems in that. Have you ever been to NASAP?
NASAP. No. So I followed the page, and I saw a lot of different clips on like what they do. And we potentially want to probably partner with them on the experience, because I think they create a similar experience on the leadership development side.
Yeah, it's super dope. And then like when I actually just went to NASAP about last month, right? And it was a great experience. It was super dope, well planned, well organized, and they had about 400 HBCU students there, and they were all student leaders, right? So I think like that right there, like it's like I like what you're doing, and that was their 25th anniversary that I went to. So when I think of 25th, I think about how you just started the first HBCU experience. And now 25 years from now, when you have it, it's like how big it's going to be and how super dope it's going to be. So like, just keep going, because that being your first time doing that and creating such a great experience like that is only up from there. You know what I'm saying? So now I want to talk about what does the planning look like when it comes to creating this big experience, this 2-3 day experience? Like, how do you go about finding the venues? How do you go about finding, the people you're going to have speaking? Because we had Master P, you had Terrence J. Like, how do you go about doing all
that? Just going back to the first point of like having a team, because a lot of our team has experience on the event side of things. So before we got into, the technical and professional side of entrepreneurship, we did a lot of events, and that's, college events, college parties, college festivals. And so through that experience, we were able to really get an outlook on what that process looks like of actually doing event planning, putting an event together, locking in the venue. So the first step is finding the venue that you're going to do it at. Once you find the venue, you got to figure out a budget for that specific venue. Are you going to get sponsors for that venue? Like I mentioned, like us doing it kind of like, I would say last year we did it last minute, because, the way we would have wanted to do it, we would have done in advance. But since last year was the first year, we kind of just had to figure it out. But we found the venue, we had the pricing, and then we started to look for sponsors and different things like that. In which reality, it's like, yes, you're supposed to lock in the venue once you figure out what event you're doing, but you also have to already proactively start seeking out sponsors for the event, because at the end of the day, you don't want to get in a position where it's like you have this huge event and all these expenses, and everybody's looking forward to the event, but you don't have enough to cover the expenses. And so I'll say, when coming up with an idea this big, you have to be very thorough. So it's like, write the idea down, write the possible venues, write the budget out. And then also from that budget, now think about how much is coming out of pocket, how much is coming from sponsors. And so that ideally gives you like enough runway to at least figure it out, because once you have the venue locked in, the rest is on selling the tickets and marketing, which is the easy and hard part, because, those things may not essentially cost, but at the same time, they make or break your investment, because that venue was your investment. This, whole event is your investment. And so making sure that all parts of your investments go well has a big part to do with relying on your team, and then preparing ahead of time. Like last year, we probably thought about the idea in, I believe, probably early August. And then we're about September, November, we all right, we're actually about to do this. And then we had 3 months to promote, and we still made whatever shape. But now it's for this year, we started having conversations about the Met Gala in February, the next Met Gala in February. So we've been planning since February now, and now we're ahead. We already locked in the venue. We already got some conversations going on with sponsors, and we're ahead of the curve. But sometimes you only learn that through experience and doing it wrong the first time, or doing it not the best way the first time.
Yeah. So that goes into the question I was just about to ask you. So what are some things that you think people should look out for? One, so definitely, planning ahead, and also what's some mistakes that you made prior? What's some you spoke on earlier, what were bump in the road? You had bumps in the road. So what were some of those bumps in the roads that people can, have?
I would say, like I said, the bumps in the road mainly were off our preparation, essentially, because, us coming up with such a grand idea with a short time frame, we didn't give ourselves enough time to actually execute on the level that we would have liked to execute on. We made it work, and we made adjustments. So it ended up working out in the end. But what I'll tell people, bumps in the road, is you never know what's going to happen financially. You never know what's going to happen on, for example, like you mentioned, we had Master P and Terrence J and different things like that. So Master P, that situation pretty much happened through us connecting with him and networking with him in a previous event. And we were able to lock in a relationship with him and get him involved on our advisory board. So we were able to get him involved, kind of on the leadership summit and different things like that. But for example, Terrence J, it took a while for us to get him involved prior to, because like I mentioned, we started promoting, or we started implementing the planning of it kind of 3 months before. And so for people who are celebrities and different things like that, they have to know certain things in advance. And there's uncertainty that lies when you have less time, because, they could say this and then something come up and they change it. And it's because it's last minute, these certain people already have things on their calendar or their budget already, and they're not going to just take a pop-up, when they got something locked in already. And so it's really just goes back to preparation. The more time you give yourself to prepare for such an event like this, you can think about all the things that can happen, because there's really no way to pinpoint what specific bumps in the road happened, but a lot of them were just due to lack of preparation, either on the entertainment side, the venue side, or the financial side. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So now, what's the process of booking a celebrity, right? So you have events, who do you talk to,
Typically, it's a conversation. Each celebrity has a manager or booking agent. So essentially, we communicate with their manager, and we pretty much give them the scope of the event, the proposal of what the person would actually be doing. They pretty much give us a quote on their pricing, and then essentially we go from there. We put together a contract, we send it over, they get it sent over. We put terms in the contract, such as, for example, if, they're headlining, they have to, make a certain social media post or pretty much promote the event. So the process is really simple. Most of the time it's just getting the contact, if that makes sense. So it's not the process itself. The process is 1, 2, 3, but sometimes, not everybody just has access to, this person's manager or that person's manager. So, having a network, or, networking to, find those resources versus, for example, you could know somebody that knows somebody that could get you a different price than the price they're going to charge you if you just hit their generic email on their website or so being strategic about figuring out who you know that knows somebody that, can get you in the door that way versus going the original way. And there's no problem if you have to go the organic way, you do what you got to do. But just from experience, I'll say like we've had, better success in doing it in the way of networking and finding, somebody that knows somebody.
Yeah. Networking is key, man. Networking is definitely key. So I don't know if you want to drop the number, but what does the investment of this big grand event look like? Like
anywhere between 50 to 90K.
50 to 90,000.
50 is the base. That's just like us renting a venue. That doesn't include staging, lighting, tech, TV. It's a lot of different things that go into that price. But just on a base level for just the venue, it's 50K and up. Honestly, yeah.
Wow. So
artists, or that doesn't include entertainment. That doesn't include any of that. That's just venue.
Wow. So okay, let's break that down. So now, do you get a profit, or that's just like
so just as an entrepreneur, I'm gonna be completely transparent. When you do something for the first time, you're looking to make profit, but a win is breaking even because now you know how to do it the next year. And so with the being an actual event where we have tickets and we have different incentives and different VIP opportunities and different things like that, there is a profit margin that is there for profit when it comes to doing an event like this. But to your point, it's like figuring out, like, our main thing is creating an experience. And so there's a lot of money that goes into creating that experience because we want people to continue coming. And so it's less about, making the ticket sales and more so about providing an experience that they'll remember and want to come back to. And so that's kind of what we wanted to do with the first time. It's like, hey, it's cool. We may, go all in on this and not make that much on return. But if people remember this, that means we're still in their minds for the next year. And that's how we would continue to create that experience that people want to come back to when we don't have to sell. And so
that's a great mindset to have, because a lot of people be really focused on money, you know what I'm saying? And the thing is, like, the amount of money you make, like you said, may not drive people to come back, but that piece of, saying like, I'm gonna create this experience, because it was a great experience. Like, the vibes was good the whole entire weekend. And then I networked with a whole bunch of people. Like, it was one where I networked with, and we ended up actually being in like not an internship, but like a program together. And it was crazy because I met her there. You know what I'm saying? So like experiences like that is like, okay, I go next year. I never know who could be in the room next year.
And each year is gonna keep getting better. And just to add on to your point, it's like, as an entrepreneur, this is an advice I'll give anybody. It's like, you can't start a business for the money. It's never going to work. You got to do it for the impact. The impact is what's going to drive the monetary, because like, as a business, all successful businesses are solving a problem for someone else. If your solution isn't solving a problem or making someone's life easier, it's not a business. You know what I'm saying? You're looking for donations. It's like, a business is something that makes somebody's life easier. And to make somebody's life easier, you got to be focused on making their life easier or giving them an experience versus the money. The money is a byproduct of what you're providing someone. If you focus on what you're providing, naturally the money is going to come. That doesn't mean don't have a plan for how you're going to make revenue, but it means focus less on the how and focus more on the what that you're giving the people to acquire the revenue, because you got to give to get. You can't just, have something and expect people to just pour money. You want that, start a nonprofit. But with a business, you know what I'm saying, you have to actually provide something. And even in a nonprofit, they're providing a service, but, that's more so like donations. People give out of their heart or, how they feel essentially. But with the business, is what you give them. And that's what they're paying for.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of gems you gave there. So now, can you walk us through the process of first, I want to ask, before we get off the HBCU experience, what can people be looking for next year?
Well,
this year.
So I don't want to give away too much, but the leadership,
a little something. We about
to have some big bosses at the next leadership summit. We about to have some pretty well-known big bosses at the
can't throw out a name. Come on. By the time this released, y'all probably release the name by the time.
But the thing is, though, you feel like we are very like we give people what we say we're gonna give them. And so right now,
Everything is work in
Yeah,
progress.
we're still locking things in, but like, they're gonna happen. We don't set out to do things like last year we set out to have Master P and Terrence J. And although we didn't know certain things, so maybe 2 months, 3 months ahead, we still got it locked in. So right now we're working on some conversations with, some pretty big names. Rick Ross, just to throw that out there, and a couple more people, but nothing is confirmed yet. But that's the scale we're looking at. And also on the performance side for the Met Gala, we're thinking about bringing some big names on the performance side too. So we're gonna actually make it a pretty dope experience, and then we're also gonna have a lot of different people involved just in different areas. Even on the award presentation side, we may have some special guests presenting awards and stuff like that. So this year is gonna be big. And this year is gonna be more anticipated because last year, a lot of people didn't know too much about it, but enough people did. This year, everybody knows about it. Everybody's talking about it. So
it's gonna be lit. It's gonna be lit. Yeah, I thought about. I was like, should I apply for an award again? I thought about it, but then I'm a type of person. I like to be real humble, so I'm like, I gotta give somebody else, a chance to shine, type thing. So I was like,
man, if you went back to back, you just went back to back. Hey, you can't hit the player, you gotta hit the game, bro. Like you went back to back, that's it.
Yeah, but definitely, the reason why I really considered it though is because being in that room and then people seeing that you also got an award makes you like stand out. You know what I'm saying?
No, so that's sure. It's good presence. It's good branding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So that's why I was like it's real good for that emphasis. But then it's just like, dag, like somebody also like I know what I'm doing I'm gonna keep doing it. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, yeah, it's a thought in progress. It's a thought in progress. But now let's tap into Unchained Inc. Right. So what is that business solely focus on?
So Unchained Inc. is solely focused on helping diverse early career talent, which is, Black students from HBCUs, Black students from PWIs. Originally, like when we first started, we had a laser focus on just HBCUs. This year with our growth plan, we've expanded to diverse populations at PWIs. We realize, although, we're supporting our, diverse candidates at HBCUs, which is the majority, there are a lot of minorities at PWIs that still are looking for opportunities and are still, diverse candidates. And so we're expanding in that realm. So essentially the platform is a social professional network that allows them to create profiles, connect in group chats, apply to jobs, and access different career resources. While on the company side, we specifically partner with companies that are looking to increase. Let's say it's a company that says, hey, I want to hire more students from HBCUs, or I want to hire more Black or Hispanic candidates. We partnered with them strategically because not only do we have the network of students, but we also understand how to reach the students, how to speak to the students, and what the students actually care about. So we basically work with these companies in combination with our technology platform that gives them access to a database of resumes. Also work with them on the engagement side, like, hey, while you're trying to reach this specific group, how about we partner together on this specific tour day and we travel on this tour day? How about you sponsor a table at the Met Gala or the leadership experience? Or how about, you partner with one of our ambassadors team? So we work with companies to help them actually increase their visibility, recruitment efforts, and development with diverse candidates. And so the goal for the platform is to be like a global tech platform. I'm sure everybody is familiar with LinkedIn and other platforms of that nature. Our platform is very similar, but we have a laser focus on people who look like me and you, and specifically young people who look like me and you, because that is the future. And we are building a platform that's for the future by building the future on the platform. So
that's super, super dope. So what's the process of like signing up? And like, how is it like similar to LinkedIn where like you scout businesses and you scout CEOs and stuff like that? Or like how does it work?
So essentially on the student side, you create a profile, and you get automatically added to your school specific group chat. So everybody who attends your school is added to a group chat per their school, and it also breaks down into different majors. And so on the student side, that's like the connection with the peers on the platform. But as a student, you also get to go and view job listings. So open job opportunities, you get to view those and apply to them. And then you also get to view company profiles. So like companies that we're partnering with have like a dedicated custom company page where they have their employers' contact information and, open job opportunities and other things of that nature. So students have access to either directly contact employers, apply to opportunities, or view information on the company, while employers get to view applications, resumes, analytics, and different things on the student, the interest level on their opportunities, and just overall engagement.
Perfect. Okay. So I like to talk about things that's on like the back end of things, because a lot of times like we just see the app or we just see the website. So what does it look like on a back? Like take me to the drawing board. Like you had this idea, right? Like for example, I have an idea to create an app, and it's an idea. I talk to people, but I don't know the app creation process. So like I had this idea of creating, this site, and it's an app, right? If I'm not
It's both. So it's
yeah,
a web platform and an app platform.
yeah, a
So
web app platform and a app platform. So what did it like? How did you go from the idea to creation? Like,
all right. So the perfect way you described it, like I was that person. Like I was a pre-law student. I was studying to go to law school. I did not know anything about tech, but like I've always been intuitive and I've always had like pretty good ideas and was good with coming up with ideas.
what
With
did you
this,
major in?
so you said what?
What did you major in?
So I was a pre-law student, so liberal studies pre-law.
Oh,
So like,
wow, okay.
just to tell the story, like I didn't make the pivot to entrepreneurship till like junior year. Like, so like essentially from freshman to sophomore year, like I'm a pre-law student getting ready to study for the LSAT. Like I was gonna be a business attorney though. So like it kind of aligned because I was still gonna be working in business, but just on the legal side. But through my navigating through different internship experience where I worked in roles outside of law. So I worked in business development for the Office of Civil Rights. I worked in marketing and campus engagement for Verizon and TikTok. And then I worked in compliance for Goldman Sachs. All those experiences kind of spread me across different parts of the businesses. And so it kind of inspired me to want to see what that looked like, forming and starting my own business and or company. But Unchained specifically came from my first internship experience with the Office of Civil Rights, where my job was helping minority business enterprises get government contracts. At the end of that experience, I liked the work that I was doing because I felt like I was doing meaningful work for my people and essentially getting them opportunities. But that was on a macro level. On a micro level, I had to look at it like, hey, I'm an HBCU student. I'm a pre-law student. I took a non-pre-law related internship and now my perspective changed. How many other students, if given this opportunity, will have that same shift? And so that's what inspired me to create a platform that specifically focused on students like me who are looking for opportunities. In the beginning, I wrote it down in my notes. Like, whenever you got an idea, the first way to bring it to life is to write it down. I wrote it down in my notes, June 19th, 2019. From there, I remember it because I still got it in my notes. I use it. June 19th, 2019, I wrote it down. Basically sat on it for about like, I say 4 or 5 months. And when I say sat on it, I didn't I told a couple people and I started working on the background. Like I started looking for the logo. I started, putting the things together that would make it come to life for me. And so in the beginning, before, like I said, I didn't know anything about an app, web development, none of that. But conceptually, the platform is a resource network that helps students get career tips and opportunities. So on a basic level, what I did was create an Instagram page. I created an Instagram page and built the following off just sharing career tips, interview tips, and open job opportunities. Built a community of people just following the page just for specifically that. And then on a practical level, once I connected with my business partner, Nasir, and we met and kind of discussed the idea because he was a developer, that's when we started working to build the first version of the website, which we launched June 19, 2020, which is a year later. But at that point, we'd already built the following, about 500 to 600 people following the Instagram page. So once we had the first version of the website, we already have 500 early users from, just me bringing the idea, using what I had because I didn't have no developmental skills. I didn't meet Nasir at the time of when I thought about the idea, but what I knew I could do was the Instagram page, the logo, the branding. So you always start with the tools that you have to prepare for the tools that you'll receive.
Yeah, wow, that's deep. So it seems like things taking off pretty quickly. So you had this idea in 20. So when did you graduate?
I graduated in 2021.
2021. Okay, and you graduated from in
North Carolina A&T.
Okay, all right. So, you had the business idea. You said June 19, 2019, and then a year later you created the Instagram page, or a couple of months.
So the year later is when we launched the first version of the website.
Basically. Yeah, the first version of the website, but you had an Instagram page before and you started building that way so that you could just, you know what I'm saying? Wow. So all you did was use resources that you had until you get bigger and bigger resources. Mm-hmm. And one thing I want to go back to the HBCU tour now. I see that you started doing brand ambassadors, right, at each HBCU campus. So what made you come up with that idea?
So this goes back to experience. Like my sophomore year, I was a campus ambassador for TikTok. And this back in 2019, 2020, when TikTok was first, coming up essentially. And so they were smart. They realized that college students create influence, and not only college students, but Black college students create influence. And essentially our job was to pretty much, spread awareness around their brand on campus, pass out merch. Just essentially, we were getting paid to just promote the brand. With that same thing in mind, I'm like, if other companies, outside companies, are coming to pretty much, court HBCU students to promote their brand, wouldn't an HBCU student feel more inclined to support an actual HBCU brand created by a student that, they saw walking classes the other day, So like, I took that same concept when building Unchained. I knew I had to have ambassadors, because like, who would feel more, confident repping this brand than a person who actually is what the brand represents? And so that was kind of like, I got it from my experience being a TikTok ambassador, but I saved it. When I was doing the job, I'm like, I like this idea. And so like, it was one of those things where I'm like, if I'm going to recreate it, I'm going to do it better, because I got to actually, participate in their program, but I also authentically know like what the people I'm going to be recruiting care about, because I was that student. Like, I understand like how recent grads and students look at things, what they like, what is cool, what is, so I understand that scope, that a lot of what our competitive advantage at Unchained is that we are the target demographic that everybody's trying to reach. So we use those insights to create our solutions, because nobody can duplicate that, because you can't duplicate an experience. Like, you had to be there. It's one of those things, like, you had to be there. If you weren't there, like, you can't really. So.
Yeah, that's super, super smart. So what's some of the perks that people get for being an ambassador?
So they get certain incentives. So it comes with, different opportunities. So we have two sides. We have ambassadors, and then we have influencers. Influencers, have opportunities to get commission off pretty much promoting certain brands on the HBCU tour marketplace. So we have a marketplace of goods and content that's produced by HBCU student, whether that be merch, products or whatever. So we have a marketplace, and our ambassadors have the opportunity to essentially be an influencer for a specific product, and also get commission based on those products. Now, on our ambassador side, which is more so on the opportunity side and campus engagement side, they get incentives, that are related to, different giveaways, scholarships, priority access to job opportunities, and then also discounts and access to our leadership summit and Met Gala and things of that nature. So our ambassadors get perks of, being the kind of on-campus engagement officers for the brand, getting priority access to opportunities and scholarships, and then also incentives from our partners. So like, they may get gift cards from some of our partners or different things of that nature.
So basically, all right, so I get the influencer and ambassador difference. So now with the influencers, you said you have an HBCU marketplace. So that's like, if Financial Revolution sells something, I'm on HBCU's tour marketplace. And
so
I can have an influencer. Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so basically, like, we have a marketplace, right? So it's essentially just like Shopify or Amazon, but all the products on there are products by HBCU students that sell. And essentially, because we have ambassadors that are looking for opportunities to promote things, we connect the two. It's like, hey, if you're a store owner and you have a product and you need an HBCU student at Tennessee State to promote it, you now can have access to that ambassador. And then it's like, you guys work out pretty much, a situation where, they get a percentage of their sales, whatever that commission percentage be. Like, we'll discuss that like internally, but essentially the opportunity is like, hey, they'll promote your product on their campus for you for commission on the sales, essentially. And also to grow their influencer brand, because the more brands they have under their belt, the more contracts they'll probably get. So,
and then that helps y'all overall. Like, wow, so y'all solved the problem within a problem that solved the problem.
Nah, that's the goal. The goal is like being able to like that goes back to the impact. Like, the more we're able to help people, the more it's going to come in return, because it's like, at the end of the day, like, these people that are joining our platforms, either as an ambassador, influencer, or intern, 5 years from now are going to be in great. Somebody could be the chief officer at Nike. Somebody could be, you know, a chief influencer at Essence. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're creating things, relationships that are going to be long lasting. They're going to remember, hey, I started with HBCU. I was a HBCU tour ambassador, and that always, you know, paves the way forward, because like that brings back to the point, we're trying to create the future, and the only way to do that is to invest back into it. And that's like, historically, for a long time, like, our specific, you know, community or demographic hasn't been invested in. Like, for example, it's like, you know, now there's a lot of initiatives towards Black founders and, you know, Black interns and different things like that. But before, historically, it's like, you know, there's been dozens of, you know, young, you know, Black entrepreneurs with great ideas, but no investment. And so the idea dies because there's no support, there's no investment. But what we're trying to do is reinvent the wheel by investing in each other. If they're going to be slow on investing in us, let's do what we can with what we have and invest in each other and recreate it in the future. And that's kind of our goal. It's like, hey, we may not be a Google yet or a Facebook yet, but we're on that path. But what we can do that they can't is actually reach the people, because they got so far up that it's hard for them to come back down. We're never going to have that problem, because we always, you know, keep our center to the ground.
Mm-hmm. And then y'all have the people. Wow, that's super dope. We got to talk about that one. We got to get some Finance Revolution on the market.
We honestly, one thing I was going to mention is that, like, our platform has the option for people to upload courses. So if you could get some courses together specifically around that,
we could
literally put that on the platform and people can have access to that. That's like plug and play. Yeah.
And y'all got a big name who's an influencer. I'm not sure if he's an influencer ambassador, but he go to my school, Zion.
He's going crazy right now. He's going crazy.
He's a big name. So that was definitely a good plug that y'all got on your team and stuff like that. So now I want to talk about you also. I see that you also post that you do LLCs too, right? Right. So like you just like you do a lot. So like talk to us about that. And also I want to get into, like, once you explain that, how you balance your time, like your time management of, you know, building a multi-billion dollar companies, and also, you know, still just being a young, fresh out college student, right? Because you're fairly, you know, fresh out. So yeah.
So I say it's a mindset thing to answer the question about how I balance my time. What was the first question again?
The LLC down to about.
Oh, the LLC. So yeah, so going back to the LLC, so how it originally started is basically like I said, I was a pre-law student, liberal studies student, and my plan originally was to get into business law. And so I used to do a lot of research and different things on those specific topics. So naturally, when it came to the time of me actually putting the paperwork together for my business, once I after, you know, the Instagram page and after, you know, the first version of the app, I'm like, yo, nah, this is too real. I gotta get my paperwork together. So originally I was gonna ask somebody else or ask around to see who was gonna do the LLC. But then I decided to do it myself. I was like, I mean, this is the career I was gonna potentially go into anyway. Let me see what I can do. Once I did it for myself the first time, I realized how simple the process was and how the real issue is that people lack information. Because, for example, you go on LegalZoom going to charge you like $400, $500 for an LLC, but the state secretary website for each specific state,
like $250.
Yeah, or less. But LegalZoom is charging you for your lack of information. And so what I saw was an opportunity, because although, you know, I figured out how to do it without LegalZoom and spent less money, I felt like I could provide a service at a fraction or less price than LegalZoom and still get the same outcome. Because although, like, for example, people like pay for convenience. So although like some people may understand that they lack the information, that's why they're paying the price, they still may not want to do it. But they will be more inclined to do it if you can, you know, pretty much provide a price point that makes sense for them. And so I saw that as an opportunity for me to provide a service to people who may not know, because I knew that if I didn't know that I could find my LLC, I know there's a lot of people who don't know that, because at the same time, it's like, you know, there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there, and like, it's not like we get just, you know, signs everywhere that gives us guidance on how to do certain things. And so you learn by experience. And I learned by filing my own. Once I filed my own and I broke it down into a process and I kind of strategized around, it's like, hey, LegalZoom and all these big names, they're breaking the bank charging people with LLCs, but they're not really reaching my people though. I can reach my people, and I can reach my people at a better price point. So it's always just thinking about creating an opportunity where you can provide a service that either saves someone time, makes their life easier, or is cheaper. And so that's always a business opportunity. So something started as something that I just needed for myself. I turned into a business opportunity because I'm an entrepreneur, and felt like I didn't see anybody that was doing it either. Like when I was looking up LLCs, like the first thing that pop up is LegalZoom. The first thing that pop up is go to a lawyer, but there was nobody that, that was local or, that was doing it. So I'm like, all right, cool. There's an opportunity for me to become that person. And so that's kind of how that started. And it aligned because yes, although I'm an entrepreneur on the come up trying to build my business, I want to help others get to that point too, because it's like, that doesn't happen a lot. People start to, make their strides and they never go back and, help others and give that helping hand of, like, for example, like, you may start a business and become successful, and there's somebody right behind you that needs that same support, but may not have that guidance for somebody to help them. If you got something that you can give back and add value, and also, like, at the end of the day, if you're an entrepreneur, figure out a way to make it profitable. But at the end of the day, that's investing back into the community, because it's like, I think so far I've done at least 120 LLCs since I started. So that's 120 Black businesses, and like, naturally, I didn't just, aim towards Black businesses, but that's naturally who, my marketing would attract to and different things like that. So I've done at least 120 LLCs, and those are all like Black businesses. So it's like, just thinking about it from a scale like that, it's like, yeah, I just did the LLC, paid the service, but now like 120 businesses were created legitimately, not just, I got to hustle. Nah, like, make your hustle an actual thing, like actually open a bank account, actually get these things set to be legit. And so
wow,
that's
okay,
what started that.
That's super dope. So now, when it comes to filing an LLC, what's some process, like, what should people look out for? Because I actually filed my LLC on my own too. Because like you said, I went to LegalZoom and I'm like, nah, I'm not about to pay $100 and all these pop-ups and add-ons and things. And I'm like, something not adding up here when I can do it myself. And it was only about like $250. And it took me less than 20 minutes to do it as well. And I also think like a part of that is that people don't like to read either, right? Because that's really what it is. It's you literally, it takes you step by step, and you literally just have to go through the process of reading. Even now, like, I'm filing my trademark, like, people go to other people for that, when like you can do it on your own, right? All you have to do is go to uspto.gov, or when it comes to filing your LLC, go to your Department of State. So it's just like you whatever you're paying somebody else to do, you mentioned 3 points, and I like those 3 points because when I was starting my business, those are 3 points that people said. They said, Aaliyah, if you're starting a business, whatever you do in your business, you got to make sure that you're making somebody's life easier. What was the other one? You said solving a problem or it's cheaper, right? So those 3 things. So now, when it comes to LLC, what should people be looking for?
Like, so as far as like, what do you mean? Like,
filing it, like, where do people go? So to go to Department of State, right? So now, like, from there, like, what's like the steps, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay. So as far as like filing your LLC, and mind you, like I was about to say, I'm giving away free sauce right now because this I'm on the show.
You gotta understand though, free sauce always gonna get you more business.
Oh no, I'm not saying it's a problem. I'm just saying, like, because we on the show, we're giving away free game. And to your point, people, this is public info, so this is not info that anybody can't look up. I'm not giving y'all nothing special, but at the same time, it may be different hearing it from me. So, with that being said, the process is pretty simple. Like you said, you find what specific state you're trying to file in. You find the Secretary of State website. And all the websites have like a file submission portal, which kind of guides you to what different type of entity you're trying to form, because a LLC is a specific type of entity, a limited liability company or corporation. They have incorporations, they have nonprofits, they have a lot of different things. So you got to be very specific, because when you're completing things like this is something that's like, yes, you can, it's going to take a lot of work to change. Like, once it's on paper, it's going to take a lot of work to change and shift. So it's better to essentially, have your things in order. But you go to the Secretary of State website, you find the submission for the LLC, you have your business name, your business email address, and there's usually a filing fee associated with that. You fill out your information, you put your signature, you add all your members, and from there you submit it. The process usually takes about 2 to 3 weeks. From there, you'll get an email back with your articles of organization, which is the end result you're looking for. That's like your certificate that certifies your business as a legitimate business or entity that exists. So the process is simple. Like, whatever state, find the Secretary of State website, go to the filings or submissions, find one specifically for a limited liability company or corporation, and then fill out the information, like follow the steps. It asks like specific information. You plug that information in, pay the fee, and yeah, you just wait for the processing.
But so now what's the EIN? Because I know like after you get your LLC, make sure you want to get your EIN number too. So what's the EIN number?
So the EIN number is basically like a social security for your business. So like once you form an LLC, the LLC is now a separate person from you. So basically that's the benefit of having an LLC. Like you and the business are two separate entities. You may run the business or own the business, but whatever happens with the business is for the business. So for example, that's why it has its own EIN number. So that will track all the payments coming to the business, payroll, different things on that nature. And you'll still have, you know, your separate information and things going on, because in the first year of having an LLC, before you elect to make your LLC a S Corp or a C Corp, you'll just be a disregarded business entity. So basically, like to the state or the IRS, your LLC is in addition to you personally until you make that designation change of say, hey, I want to change my business to a C Corp or a S Corp. It's going to be seen as like you're a self, a single member LLC. That's what it's going to be treated as. It's a single member LLC with you in ownership, but it's still going to separate it. So essentially, having an LLC protects you from liability. Like, for example, if something happens, where somebody passes out on the Young and Dumb show, you know what I'm saying? They can't come after you personally for that. Like, they can't come after you. They can't put a lien on your house for what you owe for what happened to your business. Now your business owes it. And essentially a finesse I'll say this is a finesse because a lot of people do it. And this is not the reason to get into it. Like, there's a lot more specifics to it, but just a simple example is like someone like Donald Trump. He had like 1,000 businesses. Whenever one of the businesses goes in debt, he files for bankruptcy, closes the LLC, and moves his money into another business. Now that business no longer exists, so nobody owes the money. And that's because he didn't owe the money. The LLC owed the money. But if the LLC is bankrupt and it's closed, who's paying the money? Because that's what literally separates the two. And so people have been doing it for years, and you have to be strategic about it. But that's essentially kind of like how a lot of these wealthy people, benefit from having multiple LLCs. It's like, it's not, the business is not tied to you personally. Like, yes, you own it and you run it, but like once the business no longer exists, or, and that's like worst case scenario. I'm not advising anybody to, but that's just something to put out there. That's kind of like an example of, a real life example of why a LLC is like the most preferable thing, because like, there's certain things where it's like something happens in your business or something happens specifically with something tied to you, like everything falls back on you. With the LLC, it just falls back on the LLC.
Wow, that was a lot of bars. All right, so last few questions as we wrap up. I definitely want to get to know like what is the time, management go, like how you managing your time of saying, okay, I'm gonna do some LLCs today. I'm gonna work on Unchained today. Oh, the HBCU experience is coming up. We gotta build that. So what does that look like?
So honestly, it just really takes a lot of, I say, first of all, like it's a mindset thing first. It starts with the mindset. It is like, if you look at it from that lens, outside looking in, it is a whole lot of stuff, but it's a mindset thing because it comes back to like you understanding or believing that you're capable of doing it, because it all starts there. Like once you have an agreement with yourself that you're capable of doing it, it's on you not to do it, So it's really about, blocking out all the outside noise and saying like, I'm capable of doing this. Yes, a lot, but I was built for this, because like not everybody is going to go through the same things and do the same things. But if you sign up and set out to do something, you have to like be prepared with what it comes with. The next thing that helped out though, because in the beginning, being an entrepreneur, being somebody who runs full speed, like I was just doing things, and I wasn't really organizing. Like I was just getting things done because like, once you get in that mode, you're just moving all over the place. But I realized like the further along you get with a business, you're less worried about, consistency, and you're worried about efficiency. And efficiency is actually doing it the right way. And so the right way is being able to, have a calendar where I know, all right, I have this amount of meetings for Unchained today. Then I got 2 LLC client consultations. Then, at the end of the week, we got to meet for a sponsor or a potential speaker for the Met Gala. So it's all about mindset, organizing your time. So like Google Calendar is my best friend. Before Google Calendar and Calendly, I used to tell people, yeah, I'm gonna remember it all. And I used to be able to do that. But that was back when I didn't have a million and one things to do. Now I got a million and one things to do. It's good to have that reassurance of, all right, if I need to, I can check my calendar 100 times, but at least then I know what I have going on for the day. And then also, in addition to organization, it's really having a team too. Like, don't think you got to do everything yourself. Like, because at the end of the day, a successful team knows, everybody on the team knows how to play their role. Like, I may be the CEO of Unchained, but there's specific times where I may have to put the hat of the sales role or the marketing person, and then somebody else for this specific section. Like, we talking about events or engagement, I may have to take a step back from the CEO role and let somebody else lead on this specific initiative, because that's something that's their strong suit. And I'm not going to just be like, oh, I'm the CEO, I'm the founder, I got to do it all. No, because that doesn't make sense. I got to do what I'm good at. You got to do what you're good at. And we got to make this whole thing work. And so that's kind of the three things: mindset, organization, and collaboration, you know?
So, but then how do you know, like, have you ever been in a time when you're working with your partner and like they got you tight or something? And like, how do you?
That happens. That's a part of the creative process. But like, this is what I kind of have to like, this is what I'll say when starting a business with friends or dealing with people in the business. It's like, you guys have to have an understanding off rip that what you guys are planning to do is bigger than both of y'all. So like at times you're going to clash on ideas, you're going to clash on perspectives, but none of that should ever get to an emotional level, because at the end of the day, like, this is not about y'all. You know what I'm saying? This is about what you're trying to build, and what you're trying to build requires y'all to be able to go back and forth, be able to collaborate and not see eye to eye, because if y'all don't see it well together, the world won't see what y'all are trying to prove. And so that's kind of like when I first met Nasir, like when we had the conversation about Unchained, one of the first questions he asked me was like, what is this worth to you? And for me, I already know the trajectory of what we were about to build was going to go far, because that's the first question he asked me. It's like, what is it worth to you? Because it's like, he's about to invest his time into this. What is it worth to me? If it's just worth, oh, I'm just trying to make a couple $100, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can do that getting a job, you know what I'm saying? But if this is something that's, very important to you, like, I need to know what it's worth to you. And like, starting there, like being transparent with the people that you bring on, it's like, knowing what their head is at coming in, because if they understand that this is bigger than them coming in, a little argument on, what color or what artist you should bring to the event shouldn't stop productivity, because at the end of the day, that's the most important thing.
Yeah, that make a lot of sense. So one question I really want to ask you too, though. So how do you feel about, HBCUs? Do you think HBCUs really are preparing students for the real world? And I go to HBCU too, but this is like a conversation that a lot of people feel like, and you being in the real world now, do you feel like you were fully equipped? Right, because I give you a little backstory. One of my friends having an internship right now, and at her internship, she's in a White House, right? Wow. And she feels like, it's a whole different, experience, a whole different vibe in there versus, at your HBCU, when you're surrounded by a whole bunch of people who are great, going to be successful and do great things, but it's just it's not as diverse. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, so I'll say that HBCUs like do equip students to pretty much be successful in their own right. I feel like that, there's an area for improvement everywhere. There's always areas where there can be more improvement, but for the most part, I feel like HBCUs have been taking strides to improve, the types of resources and the type of exposure that they give to our students. And also, like, the world is kind of reciprocating that, because before, like, these past 3-4 years, like, nobody was just highlighting HBCUs or making a big deal about HBCUs. But that goes to show that a lot of the reason why maybe we weren't prepared in the past was the access and the resources that we were receiving and attention that we were receiving around the time. Now they're receiving a lot of attention. It's our HBCU admin and HBCU communities responsibility to maximize this exposure we're getting to get the things that we're missing, because we have been missing things for a while. But what we're not missing is the intangibles of being able to, create a strong network, being able to navigate our community, being able to put ourselves out there. And so that's where our strengths lie in. But the things that we are lacking in, I feel like improvements are being made, but that's also like up to us as the people who face the problem to create a solution. Like, for example, me, like being a freshman at A&T back when career fairs were in person, being a pre-law student, primarily agriculture-based school, I'm running around the career fair, everybody telling me the same thing, like, oh, we looking for this, go apply online. And to the average student, you may say, I'm gonna give up. Like, this, yeah, A&T, they're not helping. But for me, I take it as like, this is a problem that needs to get solved. And like, I need to create something for this because I understand how it feels and how, so it's like, at the end of the day, I feel like that the tools that are being provided at HBCUs are improving, and there's still area for improvement. But I also feel like it's a two-part mission where, it needs to be on the admin and, the resources that are being provided, but also on the students, because like, no one's going to know we need help until we say it. And so that's kind of the thing. It's like, everybody thinks things are cool and going if you don't say nothing, but if you make a stand or make an effort, a lot of times things change quicker that way.
That was a major bar. All right, so I want to ask you our last 3 questions, right? So let's get into it. If you can tell your younger self something right now, what would you tell
them? If I could tell my younger self something,
like with the information you have now, the access to the resources you have now, like what would you go back and tell your younger self?
I would tell my younger self to try more things. Because even being young now, like there's a lot of things that had I not tried now, I wouldn't be in the positions that I'm in. Like a lot of us are afraid to do things we don't know how to do. And the reality is you won't know how to do it until you do it yourself, because you can get advice and mentorship from others, but they're giving you their perspective. Everybody's life and experience is different. So I would tell my younger selves to try more things and get out his comfort zone before waiting. Like, for example, like I started doing things once I established myself and, built the confidence for things. And like, even certain things I'm still learning now, but at a younger age, I would tell myself to try more things early on. So then 22-year-old me would be more equipped, because all the things that I do and know now are because of things that I tried in the past. And as I didn't try as many, but I would try more if I would given the opportunity.
Yeah, that's a big gem. All right, so now what is one of the dumbest financial mistakes that you ever made?
Let me see. Dumbest financial decisions I've ever made. All right. So this one is like, all right, I'm a little embarrassed about this story, but it's like, it is what it is. Like, I want people to learn from this. Like, my freshman year of college, everybody being a college student, every college student is broke. Like every
don't say that. We cut that up there.
No. But broke is, look, this is what master.
The mindset.
No, look. You didn't. Broke is billionaires recreating opportunities and educating. That's what master.
Okay, I'll let you slide with that, because you can't put a little.
Nah. So like I was gonna add with that. But moral of the story: every college student, when you're in college, you're not in the best spot financially, and you're kind of starting your finances, essentially either working a part-time job or doing whatever while also paying for tuition and paying all the other expenses you got. Like college students that like, you're eating noodles and what I'm saying, you doing what you gotta do type of thing. Everybody kind of knows that type of story. So for me, freshman year, I think I hit a time where like, I guess it wasn't in the best spot financially, and I was looking for different opportunities. And when you're down bad is when, your clarity kind of seeps away sometimes. And so decisions you normally wouldn't make or you think twice about, you tend to make. And so, I don't know, like this is a widespread thing, but there's like a lot of, it's called phishing, where someone like, essentially it's like a cyber attack, where essentially like they pose as somebody else, and they email you from a legitimate, like from an email that seems like a legitimate email or whatever. Yeah. And so it was, at the time I'm looking for a job opportunity. And so I get this email about this job opportunity working in accounts receivable. And I'm like, shit, I don't got no experience in that, but like, I'm trying to make, what I'm saying? So like, essentially like I went through a process, I went through an interview, I even signed a contract. I'm thinking everything good. So essentially my job, like the way they described it, was to be somebody who handled like accounts and payment accounts. And so naturally, when they first said that they were going to mail a check for me to then deposit or to like pretty much keep account of, I'm thinking, it made sense. Mm-hmm. And so essentially, it was a situation where I got the check, I deposited the check. Once I deposited the check, I'm emailing the person back, they're not emailing back. I get a call from the bank like, yo, you just, you know, put a fake check in the account, you know what I'm saying? They froze the account, but I was able to talk to them and explain like my situation. They were like, I mean, nah, dozens of college students get scammed by this all the time. But at the time though, like it put me in a bad spot because, you know, it took a while for them to unfreeze my bank account. And there's a lot of different things going on where it's like, I was already in a bad situation, but I made it worse by, you know, instead of, you know, like I said, I could have doubled, like everything seemed too good. Yeah, I was in a vulnerable position where everything seemed too good to be true. And so like I got put in a situation where like I got, you know, scammed by a cyber attack just because I was in that bad situation where when you're in bad situations, don't think about looking for things you don't have. Start with what you do have. So that's the lesson I learned. And that's like, regardless of not having something, I was so eager to get something fast. And that's another thing. Never look for fast money. Fast money is never like, when it's too good to be true, it's not true. Like, it's just not, it's not a thing. When something just is too perfect, like there's usually something that is on the end that's not perfect. And so you got to be able to like be comfortable in them down bad moments and create opportunities for yourself other than like forcing opportunities. Because that's what that was. It was a forced opportunity. It's like it came and it seemed perfect, but in reality, thinking about it now, it's like, it didn't even make sense. Like who just randomly puts a college student in charge of accounts? And you know what I'm saying? Like it was a lot of things that didn't add up after the fact, but you know, that's something that I say was a poor decision financially. Because like I said, like, it was something that I did that necessarily I didn't have to, but because I was in that position, I thought I had to. And a lot of college students, you know, you're going to get in that position where you're down bad, but don't go for the easy way out. The easier way out is going to be a long-term L, basically that.
Yeah, that's crazy. You know, I almost got caught with one of those like 2 summers ago when I was a freshman too. Like that summer going to my sophomore year, I almost got caught. Like they send you like this whole thing telling you how much they'll pay you weekly and all that. Like it sounds real good and nice. So that's a major gem. So now let's get into it. Now, what's your favorite rap lyric that talks about either money, mindset, anything, right? Because right here we revolutionizing financial literacy, we revolutionizing entrepreneurship and putting like a hip hop behind it. So what's that rap lyric? Who your favorite artist? What you listening to?
So off rip, like I listen to a lot of Meek, Ross, and Jay-Z. But the one that I'm gonna say is like, this is like something that I just like, I've always strived to be and do. And hearing this specific lyric always spoke to me. The lyric is by Meek Mill. Student of the game, I'm just ahead of my class. So it's like essentially like in life, you should always be a student of the game. Like you're always constantly learning, absorbing information and new things. But the goal is not to just be a student or a number in the class. You want to be the top of the class. It's like, yeah, I'm a student. Yeah, I'm learning, but I want to be ahead of my peers in all aspects because I'm a constant learner. Some people get comfortable and complacent and just knowing what they know, but it's like, nah, like I don't just want to be, you know, say my name for roll in class. I want to actually answer the questions. I want to be a top performer in that class while I'm learning. And so that's a lyric that kind of like I live by in a sense. So that's why it speaks to me in that sense. And that's more so about just, you know, being a student of the game or whatever game that is, because that's how I look at it. He was talking about the rap game. But the game could be basketball, the game could be business, financial literacy. Everybody's a player in their own game, but you always got to be a student to that game. And so that's why I feel like I like that intersection, because a lot of people feel like, all right, you can't listen to rap music and pursue other goals. It's like, nah, like before business me, and I'm gonna blast that Meek and close that deal, because it's like Meek is talking about dream chasing. Like, yes, his dream is specifically rapping, but you know, it's all about perspective. How you take it is how you should apply it. So
right. I definitely agree. But this was a great episode. A lot of gems put into this. I appreciate you for coming on the platform. And where can people find you?
So you guys can follow me at The Real Bilal on Instagram. So that's The Real Bilal and an extra L on Instagram. And you can also follow my business page at Unchained Inc. And you can reach out to me either on Instagram or LinkedIn as well. LinkedIn is just my name, BILALISSIFOU.
All right, let's get it, y'all. This is another episode of the Young and Dumb Show. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get it.
All right.